What's up, students? Mr. Harrison here from school. I'm here to give you your part 2 video of the acids and bases pH lab stations. So here we are at lab station 5. The first video had lab stations 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this one is the second half, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Lab station 5. We've got, I'm going to move this down a little bit, got our paper towel for cleaning up messes. Our substance number 5, I'm going to start by wafting. Okay. I would say it's just kind of strong smell. It's not like stinky in the sense of like it's really unpleasant. It probably wouldn't be my favorite thing to smell. It kind of has like a slightly sweet bit to it, and also it smells like something, and it reminds me of like clean things for some reason. Like I don't know if my mom used this to clean or something like that when I was little, but it seems like fresh and clean, and yeah, I mean it's a distinct smell, but I can't really describe it any other way than a slight sweetness to it, and it's fairly strong but not like overpowering. And the container itself, very, very clear. Translucent means it's see-through. So I'm going to take my piece of pH test paper and I'm going to dip it into here. Okay. Just trying to dry it off here. Okay, I'm going to run here, get my pH key card so I can compare it. So I'll be back in about 10 seconds. Just trying to get it to dry off here. All right, so here is what it looks like. Sorry, trying to get it lined up with the camera. Kind of see the color there. And I'm going to line it up with the card. It's lighter than a 3, darker than a 5. Pretty spot on for a 4. So for this one, I'm going to say 4. I mean, maybe a 4.5. But 4 to 4.5 is your pH. And again, these are going to be around what your key might say, but they might be slightly different depending on if they're diluted with water or anything like that. So station 5, I would say, is somewhere around a 4 or 4.5. So I'm going to take my handy dandy pH key card and we're going to move to station 6. Station 6, and you should be writing down the properties for each of these. Station 6. We've got substance here. I'm going to do a waft. Whew. So that's about as strong as the other one. It's strong, but not too strong. It's a familiar smell. I would say, an essence of like almost a fruitiness to it. It's like maybe a hint of sweetness to the smell as well. And the color of it, it's pretty translucent, but it's definitely like a brownish, yellowish sort of tint. So now I'm going to take my pH paper. Oops, dropped it. I'm going to take my pH paper, put a little bit of it into the solution. All right. Just trying to get it to dry off. You get a better reading if it's not soaking wet because it kind of settles into its actual color. wipe it off just a little bit on the paper towel. All right, so switch hands with it real quick. Here's your pH color. I don't know how well you can see it. So we're going to compare it to the chart. It's definitely not a 4. It's close to a 5, a little lighter than a 5. Probably a little off for 6. So I would say like 5, 5.5 or 6, maybe 5.5-ish would be the closest. 5.5 or 6, somewhere in that range. Again, it's a ballpark thing. It's not an exact science when it comes to pHs because different substances can be diluted with water, which can affect their pH. All right, so that was station 6 was a 5.5 or 6 pH. Here's station 7. I want to show you something here for station 7. If you can see this, but there's a sign. Man, it's hard to read. I'll pick it up here. The sign says stir before testing. So I'm going to follow the instructions here. It's got a little pipette in here. I'm going to stir before testing. All right. So I'm going to do a waft. Very, very, very mild smell. Almost no smell at all. It's a very, very mild smell. I guess, it almost smells a little bit like medicine-y, but not really. Like, it doesn't actually smell like any medicine, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. And it's, like I said, almost no smell at all. Like soup. That's why I had to waft it like 5 times. Very, very mild smell. So the color of it, I'm going to stir it again so you can see it when it's stirred. If I have to keep stirring it, what type of, because it's got water in it too, what type of mixture is it? If it settles out and I have to stir it, it is a suspension. So this is a suspension. You have to keep stirring it. But here is what it looks like. Slightly opaque, not quite see-through, but also not completely opaque. You can see through it a little bit. Opaque and translucent are opposites, so I'm just going to keep stirring it, get it really, really stirred up before I test with the pH paper here. All right. Drying it off a little bit on the paper towel. Okay. It's interesting. It's definitely changed color. Can't pick this up here. There we go. Okay. So you can see the color change here. All right. I'm going to compare it to the pH paper. It's not an 8. It's not a 7. It doesn't look like it's quite a 9 either. Definitely not a 10. It's definitely not an 8. So I would say probably an 8.5. It's not an 8. It's not a 9. It's too light to be a 9. I would say 8.5 is about the only option there. And again, these are not exact sciences. It's just, it kind of gives you a ballpark. So that is number 7, and the pH was an 8.5. And here is lab station number 8. We've got another mystery substance here. I'm going to give it a waft. Okay, There's something familiar about this smell. It's not real strong. It's probably stronger than Station 7 was. There's something that smells almost like, it's weird, almost like a wet leaves or wet grass kind of smell. Not quite, but it sort of reminds me, it's reminiscent of that. It's like a wet rag almost. It's kind of smell, but real faint. And the solution here is a yellowish kind of color, maybe slight hints of orange, but pretty translucent, pretty see-through, although not completely see-through, a little bit opaque. All right, so here I go with my final pH strip. I'm going to dip it in this. There we go. Wipe it off in the paper towel just a little bit. All right. So Station 8. Here is your pH strip. Kind of see the color. As I compare it to this, we're looking at, no, it's not an 8. Definitely not a 7. Pretty close to 9. Not dark enough to be 10. I'd say a 9 to 9.5 pH for this. Doesn't quite match 9, but it's close. But it's not to 10 yet. So I would say 9 to 9.5 for the pH for Station 8. Go ahead and finish your documentation log and move on to the post questions.